Warm welcome to you. This is a part of the Bangalore Technology Summit 2020, the one of the biggest, probably the biggest IT event in the country. And we have an esteemed panel of speakers along with us to discuss about a very important topic pertaining to the AVG sector. When I'm talking about the AVG sector, which is the part of visual effects, gaming, and comics. And on the whole, we will discuss about the media and entertainment industry. So to begin with, I'll briefly introduce you the panelists, and then probably as we get inside the questions, probably we can get to know more about their background and their journey and their views about the topic that we're going to talk about. Um, I'm representing ABAI, ABAI, the Association of Bangalore Animation Industry, as it was previously known. Now it is Pan India, so we remain as ABAI, and it's a association backed by the government of Karnataka towards the growth of the AVC sector in the state and probably in the country too. And we are a 14-year-old association now, and I'm the secretary of the association for the last 5 years, and been in the media industry for the last 22 years now. And today we'll be talking about what are the changing technologies that are in front of us in our industry and how them in terms of skill development and in terms of coming on par with those technologies. And we also would like to give our solutions. From Karnataka, we have already an established center of excellence for animation, visual effects, gaming, and comics, of which one of the panelists, Ms. Siji, is the center head and the CEO of that center. And as we go ahead, we'll talk about how motion capture and cutting edge technologies have prepared the country for especially the post-COVID computer graphics revolution that we are about to witness in the field of content creation across these sectors in media and entertainment industry. So to begin with, I would like to welcome the panelists. We have Mr. Samir Pitalwala. Please welcome Mr. Samir. He is the business director of India SEA for Epic Games. Welcome to the discussion, Mr. Samir.
Thank you, Srinivas, and thanks for the great introduction.
Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi. And Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi is the CEO of India at the Eros International Media Limited. Welcome to you, Mr. Pradeep, to this panel discussion. It's nice to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Srinivas. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to some exciting discussions.
Great. And last but not the least, to Ms. Siji Sunil, who is the center head of the Center of Excellence for Animation, Visual Effects, Gaming, and Comics for the Government of Karnataka. Welcome, Siji, to the panel discussion.
Thank you, Srinivasa.
Let's just broadly discuss about what this entire industry is heading towards. How it was pre-COVID and how it's going to change routes post-COVID, because there's going to be a lot of content that's going to be devoured by the audience or by the public in terms of games or in terms of stuff or probably for the real action stuff. All kinds of content is going to be devoured. And as content creators and as the flag holders of business development and content development for these kind of content, how do we look at it in this changing scenario, and how do we reach up to it? So I would like to begin with Samir. Samir, how do you think virtual production is going to make a change in this scenario post-COVID, and how it is going to be different from regular production, and what's really new and exciting about it, and what is so good that it is going to excite the content creators in terms of cost reduction and in terms of time reduction using this kind of the new techniques in virtual production. Would you like to throw some light on it, Samir?
Thanks for that, Srini. Sure. I mean, the obvious one is that because of safety concerns, generally crew sizes are becoming smaller and travel restrictions will continue in the foreseeable future. There will be travel risks as well associated with travel. So that stops most productions from having a multi-location setup, and it requires them to do more with less when it comes to crews. Both of these combined with the general restriction that budgets will see as COVID comes through, as the repercussions of COVID come through, allow people to kind of and the need for content to be generated really quickly once the restrictions, production restrictions have lifted, especially in India, but it still requires sort of quicker turnarounds when it comes to larger set pieces, or when it comes to fictional narratives which have a large world built around it. So with all of these three, one is the lesser crew, travel restrictions, and tighter budgets. All three are perfectly built as circumstances for virtual production to flourish. We're already seeing a huge explosion in camera VFX, which is happening globally. There is a lot of activity both in India as well as in every market which we see in terms which has a developed industry where they're putting LED screens together so that they can begin to shoot really quickly, really fast, and also hopefully at a fraction of the cost of what they would with larger sort of VFX setups. And secondly, with actually smaller crews and less travel. So all three, needs are being met because of virtual production, and we're seeing a massive boom in it.
Excellent. I'm sure with a lot of movies already being announced on the virtual production, movies and games already being done on it, I think we are getting up to something really exciting coming up, which is going to revolutionize the entire sector. Thanks, Samir, for your views. Going on to Mr. Pradeep. Mr. Pradeep, media and entertainment industry preparing itself for the rapid transformation in the digital era. That's my first question. The second part of the question is, how does the future production work with these technologies, and are there solutions and that's going to be coming up? Would it be easy to sell? So, how do you see yourself, catering to this rapid changing demands of the industry?
Thanks, Srinivas. I think both very interesting questions. If you look at it in the perspective of how the Indian media and entertainment, especially filmed entertainment industry, has evolved over the last decade or so, or even perhaps 2 decades, I would say, ever since the millennium has changed. I think one trend has been very clear that we have been trying to adopt a whole lot of technologies from the West and trying to improve just the production output quality in terms of not just the visual appeal of the content, but also the way the content is put together and overlaid with other elements of technology and metadata discoverable content that can then allow the content to be commercialized better and obviously appreciated better. There is an aesthetic qualitative dimension to it, and there is obviously a business dimension to it. What I would say is that this period of last 8 to 9 months of COVID and the impact of that in terms of the adoption of technology is really an acceleration of a phase that has already been there for a while. So it is not as if the technologies have got discovered now. But what is new certainly is that there is an increased appreciation of cost optimization and the ability to do things far more innovatively than what we have done in the past. So, if you look at it from a Hollywood context, for example, there are movies like Avatar and Matrix that have always been there that have used visual effects and virtual production technologies significantly. You have seen adoption of that to a great extent in Indian movies, whether you look at Ravan by Shah Rukh Khan, or you look at Om Shanti Om, which is in our movie made by us, or you look at Bahubali. But suddenly, everybody is realizing that the visual effects, which used to be a very large cost element and used to be mounted at a significant part of the investment in the movie, have actually come to a significantly less fraction of the cost than what it used to be. So what it allows now is that the ability to proliferate this technology, not just to high budget or big budget movies, but also to episodic content production for OTT and television series, as well as content production for even advertising. And because there is this whole norm of social distancing in a contained environment in which production has to happen now, we believe that with these technologies getting adopted, the world will be very different. I think when you start looking at it from a consumer lens, you would also see that the audience, once it gets used to a certain fit and finish of the end product, does not want to go back to state product. Even though for story aspects, we may still see movies coming out of 70s and 80s, but once you start getting hooked to a 4K high quality production content available on any of the streaming platforms, you really don't want to watch anything else. And that is where we believe that the future is also headed. So as a production house, we are very conscious of the fact that we need to take these technologies, adopt it our day-to-day working, make sure that we are living with what is called quote unquote the new normal, and at the same time working with partners. In this case, we work very closely with Samir's organization, Epic Games and Unreal Engine teams as well. But we work with a host of other technology collaborations to get good content made. And good content will always find appeal irrespective of how you produce it. The form of production may definitely change over a period of time.
True, absolutely. Well said. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's the content produced in a good way. Any good content gets devoured irrespective of wherever it is streamed, as long as the content is good. And thank you so much for your thoughts on this. And Shiji, I would like to know views, like, setting up and created a state-of-the-art Center of Excellence facility in Bangalore on behalf of Abhay and the ITPT department for the government of Karnataka. What, as a center head or the person responsible for the running of the center, you have probably completed more than 2 years now in the facility. What do you see is the response from the industry, and how well received it is from the industry, and whether people are embracing these technologies, and at what level, and in what kind of sectors it's being utilized?
Yeah, thank you, Srinivasa, for asking me this. Actually, the COE is having the entire state-of-the-art facility, as you know, and the team has built this over the 2 years. And as the new technology has come in, there are a lot of inquiries and a lot of interested clients from the relevant industry coming in. And especially the recent installation of the body scanner. You won't believe it, the kind of interest that's been shown by the industry. People are immense, and then we have them coming and seeing the installation, and this has become a turning key for them to see the other kind of installations that's already there at the center, like the performance capture, the head motion capture, everything. I think Samir would agree. I think he's one of the first people who has used the facility and done a beautiful project with us. So I think the industry is really looking at using the facility, and we are proud to be bringing the world closer for them.
Thanks, Vijay. I'll come back to you more on the details. We'd like to know about what kind of projects get done and what can be done, and what are the kind of technologies in the future that you plan to bring in there. Coming back to Samir, Samir, utilizing the motion capture, body capture, facial capture, body scanning, LED walls, a lot of stuff going on here and there. But do you see that people are embracing it on a bigger level? Are they open to these kind of technologies, or is it only constrained to bigger studios and bigger companies which can afford to utilize these kind of technologies? Will this integrate into the current popular system where probably each and every person would be able to embrace it and give output on these technologies? And also, the second part of the question is, do you think as a country, do we have to still rise up to the new emerging technologies of the AR, VR challenges that we are seeing? And if so, how, as a studio, you look at it?
Thanks, Srini. See, broadly, I feel that these are the umbrella word for all of these technologies tends to be virtual production, but it's a very big word. Inside of that, you have, as Shiji mentioned, face capture, motion capture. There's a whole host of technologies underneath that, which all make it work together. What we are seeing is that with facilities like what Abhay has, as well as others are setting up in different parts of the country, these are giving state-of-the-art facilities which are available globally to large studio partners here in India. That said, I think there's still some time till we begin to use it as prolifically as people in Hollywood have. But besides that, I really don't see any other industry really moving as quickly as we are over here. If you look at over the last 8-9 months, just the sheer interest we have seen in the use of Unreal Engine and the various use cases which are coming out in India, right from Hyderabad and Chennai and Bangalore all the way to Delhi and Bombay. There is a lot of activity across the region within the subcontinent on various virtual production techniques being used. So that's sort of like one. Now, the second question, which was about, are these available right now for lay users, or are they only meant for the top end? I would say it's been meant for the top end, and now it's come to the middle. So if you look at sort of Apple with its new iPhone, it's kind of had LiDAR sensors, which are included inside of that. A lot of people already use some of the stacks which are available on Android. We acquired a company called Cubic Motion, which a lot of what capture they do, you can do it using a regular phone. So a lot of these technologies are getting democratized, which are a part of the largest of virtual production. But it's not really there at the bottom of the pyramid. We think for the next 3 to 5 years, it will get there. You're already seeing in the last 4 months, last 2 months, we have seen close to about 250 million views on YouTube in India being generated on videos which have used a variety of virtual production stacks. I know, and till now we haven't seen a single movie. And that shows you about how quickly you can iterate on these things and put them on social media. Whenever movie theaters open up again and production for the large scale budget starts, it will start again there. But it's good proof of concept to see that, in the case of India, at least when it comes to creators on YouTube, although these are more established media houses doing it, but it's already started and you're already seeing a large amount of traction with stories, whether they're being told through music or through animation, working phenomenally well, both with local audiences as well as global.
Thanks, Samir. See, that 2 points that I probably take very positively here is that about the content consumption in the media and entertainment industry having grown in spite of the pandemic being there. I think it's one of the only industries which is growing and which is growing faster. And because instead of the usual 7 to 11% growth, which usually happens, it's shown some 20% growth in the last 1 year, which is a very positive signal for our industry. And the second point is that when you said that from the top and even the middle level studios or content creators are able to use these technologies now. And it's a question of time that within the next 3 to 5 years, even the lower end will be able to utilize this technology. That's when I think India has always been rich in creation of content, whether it's games or whether it's animation or whether it is live action. So I think with these technologies coming in, and I'm sure that Mr. Pradeep also would agree that the content consumption will become more. And in fact, in the last few months, it's been very huge and it's going to grow further. So I think we're looking at brighter times. Thanks a lot, Samir, for these views on that. And coming back to Mr. Pradeep, we're talking about takes Unreal Engine-based backgrounds and gaming technologies to work on virtual filmmaking, number one. And number two, one is on the virtual filmmaking side. And the second little off I would like to ask is, there has been an increase in consumption. Probably you can take it separately altogether. There's been an increase in consumption, particularly on the OTT side. So, but there hasn't been anything very new, or you don't have that much of content available compared to the content which is required by the audience. So one side is the technology, whether you'll be able to use these technologies to create content, how fast you can create content. Second is, how are you managing this requirement from the audience, and whether these technologies help you to create content faster to reach the public?
Sure. Both very interesting questions, Srinivas. Thanks once again. And let me just kind of take that on one by one. When you look at our ability to adopt these technologies in the context of our demands of scripts and the kind of projects that we are working on, whether you look at, again, episodic premium web content, or you look at films that we are making, I think taking on from what Samir was sharing, I think it's a fact today that the mindset has broadened a lot. It is not restricted to just saying that, okay, I will use VFX or I will use Unreal Engine technologies only in cases where I have to show either a science fiction kind of an environment, or I have to show a mythological environment that I can't naturally create in the normal life without incurring a huge amount of cost in the set erection and the soundstage creation itself, right? What is happening is that even normal life situations, and environments which are looking as normal real life, whether it's showing a forest or a river or a beachside or a family home, there are environments that can be created in Unreal Engine and similar technologies that allows you to produce environments and sets that absolutely normal everyday life stories. So essentially it means that almost any kind of a script requiring any kind of an environment for production shoot to be created can be done using these technologies. And like I said, as with the march of technology, the technology quotient and the ability, efficiency, efficacy of the technology keep going up. The cost in proportion actually keeps going down. And that is the advantage. The same advantage that you saw on computing and on PC era is the technology change that is now happening in visual production technologies, etc. We believe that as we adopt new and new projects, and as the whole pandemic situation remains unpredictable in the foreseeable future, we will increasingly not only adopt the technologies that are available from firms such as, or technologies such as Unreal from Epic Games, etc., but we will also pass on these technologies and create a ecosystem of people learning, adopting, imbibing these technologies in our line production partners. See, not all, we are a studio, right? So it's not as if we make all the productions, all the movies ourselves. We actually acquire, co-produce a lot of content as well. And it is very important for us that we are able to do that by upskilling and upgrading the line production partners who work with us. So we are investing disproportionate amount of time and effort in actually upgrading our line production partners. Now, the other interesting aspect is that traditionally, producers have looked at from an economic angle a combination of locations offering grants and incentives as a way to support the production cost of the movie and reduce the cost, and also give some international locales to the scenario, which makes the movie or the content really more interesting. Now, the whole idea behind that is aesthetics and economics. With virtual technologies, we can actually cut both the objectives or meet both the objectives as well. Because we are using technology, our cost actually comes down. So what we would have mounted at 100 cents to a dollar, we can now do at 70 cents to a dollar, right? A dollar's worth of output. So we are obviously saving there. So we are not dependent on grants and incentives to drive that. Second is just the sheer environment that you want to produce and project to the audiences. We are able using these technologies. So at Eros and as a company, we are extremely positive, extremely sanguine on leveraging technology for our business. And we are very excited about using these technologies. And what we see is it's not just us. When I look at some of our other peers in the industry, I think this realization is dawning on everybody that we need to have these technologies adopted significantly. Now, what's the cherry on cake is the kind of centers that are being set up in Bangalore and which you and Shiji are running. That clearly is offering these centers of excellence where we can look at centers or locations beyond Bombay, beyond the Bollywood ecosystem that we work with, Hyderabad, Chennai. There is a thriving film and entertainment content production industry. And I think the more we proliferate it in other parts of the country, we will be able to leverage not just local talent in terms of technical talent or capable people who can contribute to these projects, but also tell stories that are rooted in local context, right? I mean, India is largely, they say India lives in its villages, right? It's an old adage. But we have really not told the stories of all of our historicals, mythologicals across various states. And I think the more we go down to the granular part of the India, develop these technical centers and also pick up local content and local flavor of the stories, we will be producing something that India has not seen before. The next wave of the entire content revolution in this country is not going to come from some overseas Chinese, Korean, American, European, Israeli, South African stories. It is going to come from Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, Bhojpuri, Punjabi stories, which have not really been told in the manner in which they need to be told. So we are very excited. We believe that potential remains very huge. And the efficient use of technology is at the cornerstone of being successful in that dimension. So that's as far as the content production is concerned. Now, if I look at just the demand, the gap or demand supply gap that is there, you're right that in the pandemic, people were sort of cooped up in home. They had no alternative. So everybody was just, switching on to OTT streamers and watching a lot of content being put their way. So two things that we are discovering. One is that traditionally people were only looking at what screen, whether on their mobile device or on their OTT screens when they were watching it on smart televisions, etc., and or through this Amazon Stakes or Apple TVs, etc. But the ability and willingness of people to discover content beyond the first screen, going into second screen, third screen, fourth screen, and typically diving deeper into a genre has improved. So the existing inventory and the existing catalog that has been there is now getting discovered much more. I mean, we have, for example, in our streaming service, Eros now, close to 12,000 titles. But over the last pre-COVID era, we have seen only 450, 500 titles getting maximum amount of attention. So 80% of the attention is on those 500 titles, and the balance 11,000 odd titles get less than 20% of attention. That equation has changed now. Almost 40, 50% of undiscovered content is being discovered. As far as new content is concerned, clearly we have had a challenge, and that challenge is getting met on two fronts. At the outset, as far as film entertainment goes, and I think this is a story on which there's enough media space that has been spent talking about how movies are going straight to OTT. So whether you are watching Lakshmi Bomb this weekend as part of your Diwali celebration, or you have watched, Gulabo Sitabo in Amazon upon launch, or you see a bunch of, or you see Sushant Singh Rajput's last movie, Dil Bechara, which was shown on Hotstar. All streaming players are actually putting up movies which are coming from, which are ideally intended for theaters, but are going straight to OTT. So that is one way of fulfilling the gap. And we are also doing exactly the same. The other is leveraging technology, which is to say you use technology to create content, even though you cannot have the, I would not say ideal, I would say legacy environment. So, for example, we did a web series called A Viral Wedding, completely within lockdown. It's about a girl who's about to get married and whose marriage actually gets on hold because there is a lockdown and people can't move about. So, how she gets everything from the priest to the groom and groom's family and her own family and friends and gets everybody together to get the wedding done. The whole thing was shot during the pandemic with the lockdown, with people in their own homes, but leveraging technology and being able to produce a content output. So I think people will continue to develop smarter ways of filling this content pipeline forward. Now, roll forward to 3 or 6 months hence. We are all sanguine about or hopeful about the fact that there will be some kind of a vaccine. This 6 to 9 months hiatus has also done very interesting thing which normally gets misread. In the eagerness to produce content for films and series and television episodes, there was always a rush to write the story now and get it out tomorrow. Write the story now, get it out in the next 1 week. This 8 to 9 month period has given our writers, authors, story conceivers an interesting time with new ideas and stories that can come. I can tell you that the next 24 to 36 months, you are going to see such rich content coming out of people that it will surpass all the other expectations that are there. That compounded with leveraging of the AVGC technologies that we have will allow us to produce efficiently, produce safely, and produce in a timely manner. So there will be predictability to those outcomes, right? One of the commercial costs, and as a business person, I can't walk away from talking commercial all the time, is that just the sheer cost of insurance on a set to protect everybody is a huge cost that we have to bear if we are not adequately safeguarding everybody. Now, if we use technology and virtual technologies, we are able to cut down on those costs. We are able to keep people safe. And bottom line is, from creative standpoint, we're able to produce compelling content. So the quality of content output doesn't get declined. So sorry for a rather long answer, but I felt it's important for people to understand that as an industry, we are very excited about what we can do with these technologies, and we are committed.
Fantastic. I think people watching this would would go back with rich knowledge about what's happening and what exciting future that we can look forward to. As rightly told about technology and content creation, I've always believed that storytelling is the main crux of the content. Technology is just an enabler. And when we have such wonderful technologies to complement the storytelling, I think we can come out with kick-ass content going forward. Thank you so much, Pradeep, on your views. And going back to Shiji, well, you have heard Samir speak, you have heard Pradeep speak about the content creation and how it's booming and how technology is going to be an enabler and being at the forefront of creating such kind of technologies. And in terms of the requirements that the industry has or the content creators have, how do you rate the center that we have created? And on par with probably the facilities available somewhere else too. And what future plans do you have in store for the same, which will help in the content creation in the sector and probably help the, as Samir had mentioned before, it has reached the middle level. We would like to make it available for the low level of the studios also, low level of the content creators, that everybody, probably an independent content creator should also be able to access these kind of technologies to, who knows, you might come out with the next winner on the next, whatever the OTT produces. So what is your rating on what you have created and what plans do you have in store for it?
Yes, as everybody know, whatever the state-of-the-art facility that COE has, all the facilities that we have brought in, or the equipments that we have brought in, are all the world-class and one of its kind in the country, so that the industry can use these technologies, and it is easily available, as Pradeep had mentioned earlier, that you're trying to bring the cost down. So when the government is giving the industry something, so we want to bring the cost down, plus give them an access to these kind of technologies. So the mid-level industry people also will be able to use these technologies, Srinivasa. And very, very interesting. I would like to tell all the panelists, the new set of, we already have a lot of technology that we have already installed at COE, that is the motion capture, the performance capture, head motion capture, and everything. But then we have a beautiful pipeline. The three main things that we were discussing right now, that is about the OTT platform, that about the VFX industry, as well as the new technology, the AR and VR technology. So there are a lot of things that we have pipeline, but then to mention the first of its kind for the OTT platform, we are, other than the DI, we are trying to bring in something called as a color front. And that will be a very, very good initiative that we have taken up. And second is the India's one of its kind volumetric scan. This will be a very, very big revolution for the AR and VR technology, and for the gaming, as well as the VR, as well as the VFX industry. And the third thing that we are bringing in is actually a very, very beautiful system, that is an NCAM. An NCAM, complete tracking technology for the VFX industry. So as there is a lot of VFX content and VFX movies that is being created, irrespective of the green screen, blue screen, the LED screens that that is going to be used, the director will be able to shoot his entire movie relax at his own stage, with the background, with the Unity or the Unreal Engine, as well as the character. So it is for the virtual production that these NCAMs can be used. So these are the I think the core interest for me we are planning to bring in the coming few months. So it will be very, very interesting.
Great. Sounds very exciting, and I'm also looking forward to this exciting technologies to be installed and how the industry responds to it and starts using these facilities, because only India is not only strong in its heritage, culture, and storytelling and stories, but also in creating the relevant content, utilizing these technologies, and we are seeing a lot of stuff coming out. So as Samir and Samir and Pradeep also had pointed out that the content is going to come out like huge going forward utilizing technologies. So we all hope that these kind of technologies get used, and we also should have time to take some questions probably at the later part. We are reaching the end of the panel discussion, so we should be having some time for the questions also. In the meanwhile, I would like to listen to some parting comments, especially from Samir and Shiji on this, and then probably from Pradeep on a different aspect, which I'll come to him later. From Samir and Shiji, I would like to know. See, transformation of the technology arena are bringing changes to various industries. And the business processes are directly getting, it's directly translating to the workspace. So the major challenge here is the skill. So we might bring in all kinds of technologies to the country, and we might set up a lot of things. What we taken, or how do we upskill and improve the creative skills of the people required to utilize these technologies, or to process or to work on these technologies? So as from Epic Games, what would Mr. Samir have a thought on this? And through Center of Excellence, what would CG have a thought on this? Mr. Pradeep, you could also chip in if you have any thoughts on this. Added to that, I will ask you probably some other question as the answer to this.
On our end, we have heavily invested over the last 12 months in India to increase the number of people who are familiar with Unreal Engine. Number one, Unreal Engine is for free to use, and there is absolutely no charge that we ask for when it comes to using the technology. Secondly, we have started live training and we've trained over 1,000 people, and we are actually training now. Pretty much most of the media industry has been trained, especially VFX houses, and now we're increasing our focus on animation. We are hoping to work with the likes of Abhay to build out a Center of Excellence in Bangalore. So that's a pending conversation, Shiji. which we
Yes.
should finish off after Diwali. But the interesting part is we also made a couple of interesting innovations in India. So as you know, Unreal Engine requires a good gaming PC and a high-end PC to work. And since that it's COVID and a lot of people may not have access to good quality hardware at home, we have actually begun to give away these trainings, like 50 hours of training that we give away for free, which is charged globally, but here we are not charging for it, and we are training, like I said, already 1,000 people. But moreover, what we are doing is we're actually offering these services on the cloud now. So you don't even need to have a high quality machine at home. You can get trained on the cloud, and we're seeing a lot of our enterprise partners use that because a lot of people still are at home or they may not have the latest hardware. So just some of the things that we are doing here, I mean, providing free training, giving away the software itself for free, and working really closely with our teams to ensure that the state of the art is what people learn from here, and they have access to the best minds in the world, regardless of geography, so that they can sharpen and polish their skills.
Fantastic. That's
okay.
Some figures.
To add to
Gigi, what would you like to add on this?
Yeah, to add to what Samir is saying, as we have installed all these international fantastic equipments, one thing positive about the clients that we are working are that every technology that we have installed, the clients have been very kind. They are there 24/7 training the staff who has prerequisite knowledge, basic knowledge, and they have been, and every time there is a project, they come on board, they support. Especially the body scanning, we have a team from Canada who works round the clock with us. And third, the industry heads like Samir is also supporting us with training our staff. During the entire COVID, we had, Samir and team supporting the team, training. So in the same pattern, the Unity and the other, industries also are upskilling our staff who's getting prepared and ready to do projects. And plus, we have a finishing school, which we are looking at giving these kind of high-end training, especially with the technology that we have. The training wouldn't be available anywhere in the country. So we are looking at giving a training for these kind of technology also within the COE, that is with the finishing school. So we are looking at training and upskilling our team, as well as looking at the industry, giving training to the industry so that they can also use a facility or work on it. Yes.
So what I just wanted to add to what Samir and Shiji just said, look, as a studio and as a production team, what we believe is that there is ultimately no, you can put technology, but ultimately there is no substitute for the human and the trained human that can leverage that technology, right? I think Karnataka and the Bangalore in particular has always shown the industry, especially IT industry, the way in India. And today, we are global majors in IT, partly because of what Karnataka has managed to set up. I think this arena, this particular area is one where the entire Indian media and entertainment industry is actually looking at the government of Karnataka, the Karnataka Centers of Excellence, and what you are developing to build us a set of technically proficient people who have the sensibility of what it takes to succeed in the Indian content ecosystem. So, my good wishes, my support and support of our organization is 100% there. And I think the more innovative and the more aggressively you are able to implement this, the better it will be for the entire country as a whole, for the industry as a whole.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Pradeep. I think we have been working really hard to put up this facility, and the intention is to reach out to the entire country and help our country show our strength, because we're already the center of this industry. People look to us as a country to create good content, which is accepted anywhere in the world. So I think with the support of the entire industry and the technologies that we're setting up, and of course the support of this wonderful ITBT department and the state government of Karnataka and KITS in particular, Karnataka Information Technology Services, I think we will be able to give that kind of ability with the kind of skills that is required to run these technologies to the entire industry. So I think it's been a very good to have some participants on this panel discussion before we take questions?
Yeah, I would like to actually make a point here.
One last question, if I could ask. Sorry.
I think Shiji was wanting to make a point. I'm happy to take a question once she's expressed her point of view. Shiji, please go ahead.
Yeah. I would just want to welcome the entire industry, because we are taking a lot of courage as well as trouble and a lot of enthusiasm to build the COE with all the latest technology. So we actually are wanting to welcome the entire industry to come and look at the facility, the feel, and what actually the output that we can give, as rightly mentioned by Pradeep, the skills that we really have in India. It is really, I want to showcase them into the world, the beautiful outputs they bring in, the kind of quality that we can give. It is actually, it's a dream place that, as a 25 years of experience in the VFX Center, is to be there and to witness all these things. I definitely would like to welcome the entire country and the team to please visit COE. Yes, I welcome all of you, and have the feel, come to the center, use the facility, do if you want the tests, and it'll be really encouraging. And I think everybody should use the facility. And I think Samir has a hands-on experience already, and it is so beautiful. And we were so happy to work with Samir. Have a fantastic project, a long project that we had. So I just want to welcome the industry, all of you.
Fantastic, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So we are almost there. So we will take any questions if there are any. And just before closing this, just a non-technology question, just a general question to Pradeep in particular. Majority effect has taken production or the content production sector and the education sector during this pandemic. Being from the education industry myself, I've been trying to cope up with the challenges the education industry is throwing up because of not being open for the last so many months. And similarly, in the even in the entertainment or the content delivered or the movie production sector, also we are seeing a lot of challenges with theaters and screens, which are the major part of revenue generators, not being opened up so wholly to include the public in. So this is a not topic talking about. I'd like to know, this pandemic has literally brought the entertainment industry to a standstill. And only the OTT part is open because people are devouring content on the digital platform. But that is not going to be the, we can't survive only on that. We have to open up, people have to start coming, the big screens have to open up. So as a production house, how have you geared up for this thing, and what challenges should we be prepared on the way forward? I would like to ask this on behalf of all the content creators out there, mainly the live action content creators and the people who are dependent on the screens, because I think Eros also does distribution, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
Eros is also into distribution, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So as content creators who want to see our work on other platforms apart from only digital, what challenges should be prepared, and what do we do? Like, should we create content only keeping the digital point of view, or could we go ahead and create kinds of content assuming that production houses like you would take it and distribute it or release it or do all that stuff that is required to for the commercial part of it? So I would like
That's a great question. So if you look at it, I will kind of
all filmmakers.
Right, definitely. No, I'm happy that you're asking this question, because there are a lot of people perhaps in the audience who are content creators and are looking at how to ride this tough phase, right? At the outset, let me just make two statements. One is that whether you look at the education sector, you look at the sports sector, or you look at the entertainment sector, all three of them, while appearing to address different audiences, one is students, the other is sports enthusiasts, and the third is entertainment consumers, actually intrinsically deals with a common factor. There is a certain amount of content that needs to be given to an audience that needs to receive it or wants to receive it, and there is a commercial equation around it. I think what the pandemic has done is it has enhanced the role of technology in each of these three dimensions, but not closed all the other avenues. Even though theaters may be shut down, even though schools may be shut down, even though stadiums may be shut down, but all three are finding ways of coming back. IPL without audiences, without people in the stadium has been a roaring success. And if you have read media reports today, I mean, I'm told that Star has made significant amount of advertising revenue on the back of television. Even though theaters were shut, radios were still on, television is still on, OTT is still on. So basically, from an entertainment content creator standpoint, the creators have to think that if there is a short-term impact in the traditional manner in which they have done work, how do they gear themselves up for creating different forms of content? Who says that you always have to make a content for a theatrical release only? So clearly, OTT is a foregone conclusion, and I will not advocate that any further because that is already there, it's known. But let's look at television, which is coming back in a big way. There is opportunity in television. One is ignoring completely, and I know it is not audiovisual, it is only audio, but podcasts have gained significant traction in the last 6 to 9 months. India as a country was not a podcast friendly country, and now just the sheer variety of subjects on which podcasts are available, and podcast is a business model, how it is beginning to become successful, means that there is entertainment content finding space there. So my take is that there are various shapes and forms in which there is still significant demand. And in all fairness, even theatrical is now slowly starting to open back, right? I think Karnataka has already opened because there is an all India opening of theaters that has happened. 50% capacity, all India, it's a 50% capacity only. In fact, only Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu had stayed back the opening of theaters. Even Maharashtra, Mumbai has opened as of last week. So I believe that the theaters will continue to open and will open over in a foreseeable period. But from content creators, you have to be prepared for various kinds of formats, which is to say that these are formats that are of very short nature, which means 5 to 7 minute formats, 15-20 minute formats, 25-minute episodic content, and 2 hour, 1.5 to 2 hours movie content. As long as you can transcend these time barriers and think creative, interesting content quotient that will still find appeal, right from smaller OTT. And OTT also, there are today over 30 plus players in the country, right? Like we are largely a movie destination with strong episodic content now getting added to it. Netflix is a combination of both. Amazon has its own set of demand. So if you leave out the top 4 or 5 also, there are a bunch of one. And interestingly, there are regional demands, right? Hoichoi, for example, is doing extremely well in Bangla content. There is Punjabi OTTs and Tamil OTTs and Telugu OTTs, catering to those unique audiences. So I think that the demand is so large that content suppliers need not worry. They should just be willing to change with the times and change with the technology, adopt technology and adopt their production practices to meet with the new demands of new normal and still being able to deliver results. As long as they have this willingness to change, I think they will all be successful, and our good wishes are there. Anybody who's saying he's a content creator and struggling, please send me a pitch of what you are creating. I will happily, if I can't consume it, I will refer you to 5 different OTT and television guys who will be more than happy to take a content. It's a question of the industry supporting each other. So no content creator should feel that today they are in a troubled phase where nobody is listening to their content. I can offer you that there are enough industry forums provide opportunity to everybody. But yes, you have to be conscious of the quality that you're delivering, because quality will always find demand, and that is where you have to put your effort on. Quality and technology are the dimensions on which you should invest time on.
Fantastic. I think this will be a relief to so many filmmakers and content creators who will be watching this right now. Thank you so much, Pradeep, for such encouraging words. We have had a very interesting discussion. I thank once again Pradeep, Samir, and CG for taking out the valuable time and being a part of this session as a part of the Bangalore Technology Summit 2020, organized by the ITBT Department of Government of Karnataka. And we once again wish all the best to the entire industry and to the entire sector across the country to keep churning out and over in terms of animation, visual effects, live action, whatever content that we create. Let's be the best. Let's aim to be the best. And I'm sure India is the right path, and with the right technology supporting it, with the support of the industry, we'll be there very soon. Thank you very much, all the three of you, for sparing your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, hosting you, and making the session. Thank you so much.